Eugene Low is on a treasure hunt, which he hopes will be one small step in his big plan to be a millionaire in his early 30s.
Today's clue is I was established in 1963. You'll find me along Cecil Street, and I am the National Accountancy Body of Singapore. I guess it's the ISCA building. Let's go.
The 20-year-old is taking part in a financial literacy challenge in Singapore for young people.
This is the QR code that I need to scan.
Scanning the code leads to modules on the ABCs of financial literacy. It answers questions many young people have, like tips to achieve your savings goals, the costs of renting, and how to avoid overspending. The idea is to help young people build confidence and take charge of their personal finance journeys from the get-go.
So my financial aim is by reaching a million by around 30-something years old, 33, because I think Warren Buffett reached around that time also. So I want to compete with him in the sense. But ultimately, it's of course to reach financial independence at age 45. For me, financial independence is having no worries about what work do I need to do, and also having the luxury to choose what job do I want, and also to have a stage where I'm able to live off my dividends and interest.
Eugene did have a head start with investing. He credits his parents, who introduced him to paper trading at the age of 14.
So I think finance is one of the topics that's very tough to talk about, that they try to create a safe zone by having like some night talks from there. Yes, I always had an interest in personal finance since young, and also I like to see my money grow since young after CNY. But there's a realization that sometimes my growth didn't match up with my wants. So for one example is that from primary school, I think I like to go for McDonald's meals. That's $5, simple $5 meals. However, now I like to go for concerts that cost around $200 plus. IU and Sejong's, those type of concerts that I like to go. From there, I think that saving is great, but not enough.
A year later, at the age of 15, Eugene began his investment journey with $2,000 to $3,000 that he had saved up over the years from Chinese New Year red packets and his allowance.
He added about $6,000 each year over the next 5 years and also reinvested his gains. His portfolio is now worth around $50,000.
80% of his portfolio is in equities, focused exclusively on Singapore stocks. 15% is in cash and 5% is in fixed income products.
I like dividend because I'm a student. I think having some incoming is better than just investing it and also praying that the capital, like the market, goes up and down. So I think dividends give me a baseline of how much money I can earn per time, and also help my cash flow too, because you know that I put in money there, I cannot take it out.
What you won't find in his portfolio? Cryptocurrencies.
What's not in my portfolio is like cryptocurrencies, then commodities and properties. But definitely properties, I think I'm not rich enough to purchase it. But for others, I believe that it's outside of my circle of competence, because I don't really understand commodities and cryptocurrency enough to invest. Then another thing is that another principle that I hold dearly is value investing by Warren Buffett. Is a bit tough to value it, so that's why I don't really touch those commodity assets.
But it hasn't always been smooth sailing. The pandemic and recent global instability wreaked some havoc on his portfolio. Eugene says he remained calm by reminding himself why he chose those stocks in the first place.
The potential is derived by understanding the company's fundamental, like example how they manage their cash and also what industry are they in. So I learned the bloodline of the company. So I feel that the risk is mitigated by understanding the company much better.
Eugene is aiming for $1 million by the age of 33. He has 13 years to reach his goal. Is this an achievable target?
It's a bold goal. I would say it's not impossible. So it really depends very much on your capital base. So let's say if Eugene has $50,000 to start with, and he wishes to grow this amount to $1 million by 33 years old. So he needs to compound at least 25% of annual returns over the next 13 years. So that's actually, it puts a lot of pressure on the investor itself. There are a couple of ways here. So number one, I think what he did mention about diverting some of his attention from Singapore stocks to the US stocks would definitely be helpful. To put things in perspective, US stocks, if we look at the S&P 500, which is the broader US market index and tracks the top 500 companies in the US stock market, that has returned between 9 to 10% over the past 50 years. Now, the second way, which I think is more crucial, is he can actively contribute more money into his portfolio. So rather than just relying on, say, his starting capital, for instance, of say $50,000, he could actually, over time, put in more money to grow his portfolio. So this helps to alleviate the pressure to consistently outperform the stock market. But at the same time, it allows you to have a greater room for error, a greater margin for error if there could be some mistakes which you might have made along the way.
Eugene says there's still a lot to learn, especially as he prepares to enter the workforce. And that's why he's taking part in the Financial Literacy Challenge. He also wants to pass on the knowledge he's learnt through a social media initiative he started to teach young Singaporeans about money management.
What Eugene has done is he has basically set himself up with the habits, with the financial knowledge that could gain so much more later in life. So Einstein says that compounding is the eighth wonder of the world. And this is even more true when it comes to compounding knowledge, because the earlier you start, the more knowledge you accumulate, the more money you make, of course, and the better investor and person you become.
But first, for Eugene, enlisting for national service. He says while that will take time away from monitoring stocks, he's at peace with that, as he's investing for the long term and doesn't want to be swayed by short-term fluctuations.
As Warren Buffett says, that the first rule is to not lose money, and the second one is to remember the first rule.
If you're a Singapore resident, you can find out more about the challenge and start your own personal finance journey at this address. Registration is until October 19th.